The American Revolution was shaped not only by famous generals and statesmen, but also by women whose courage, sacrifice, and service strengthened the cause of independence. Some worked behind the scenes, while others faced danger beside the army. Their stories reveal the determination and devotion that helped build the United States, and they deserve to be remembered. Elizabeth Martin, South Carolina Patriot matriarch and protector of the wounded. Elizabeth Martin belongs in the American Revolution, not because she commanded troops, but because she made a vulnerable South Carolina household serve the Patriot cause. She encouraged sons who entered military service, cared for wounded Continental soldiers, protected an injured man from Loyalists seeking him, and held her family together while war moved across the Carolina backcountry. Later accounts place her beside her daughters-in-law Grace and Rachel in the celebrated seizure of British dispatches. Grace and Rachel performed the armed ambush. Elizabeth's role centered on the home. Elizabeth lived from 1727 to 1797. Born Elizabeth Marshall in Caroline County, Virginia, she may have belonged to the same family as Chief Justice John Marshall, but 19th century historian Elizabeth Fries Elliott offered no proof, so the connection remains uncertain. Elizabeth married Abram Martin, who had served under George Washington during the French and Indian War. In 1769, the couple moved their family from Virginia to the South Carolina backcountry. They settled in the region that became Edgefield County, then part of the 96th District. Farms and settlements were separated by woods, rough roads, and long distances. The village of 96 stood at a crossroads connecting South Carolina's interior with Georgia and the coast. The Martin household therefore occupied a landscape traveled by militia, couriers, refugees, raiders, and regular soldiers. Abram did not live to see independence declared. The National Park Service states that he was killed in 1773 while surveying in Wilkes County, Georgia. Elizabeth entered the Revolution as a widow responsible for a far-reaching family in a bitterly divided region. Elizabeth and Abram had 9 children, 8 sons, and 1 daughter, Letitia. Elliott's 1848 account says 7 sons were old enough to bear arms when the conflict began. The National Park Service states that all 8 eventually became Patriot soldiers. Both may be correct if a younger son entered later. Family tradition remembered Elizabeth urging the older boys to fight without dishonoring their country. The exact wording was recorded decades afterward, yet the service record shows the Martin home sent many Patriot soldiers, while Elizabeth accepted fear and possible bereavement with every departure. The danger increased after Charleston fell to the British in May 1780. British and Loyalist forces established posts, including a fortified base at 96. Patriot militia and Continental troops tried to recover control, while civilians lived among patrols, raids, reprisals, and divided neighbors. A family known for sending sons into Patriot service could not expect neutrality to protect its property. Elliott reported that Loyalists entered Elizabeth's home, cut open feather beds, and scattered the contents. This was no battlefield episode, but it destroyed household supplies essential for warmth, rest, and survival. Elizabeth's clearest personal service concerns a badly wounded Continental soldier left at her house. She tended him until he recovered. Nursing in an 18th century backcountry home demanded continual labor, cleaning wounds, changing dressings, preparing food, watching fever, maintaining bedding, and sheltering the patient. There was no secure military hospital nearby. The Martin house became an improvised recovery station, and modern accounts say the family let wounded Americans remain there until they could leave. Elizabeth turned domestic knowledge into military support. Her work preserved a Patriot life and may have enabled the man to return to service. Care did not end the danger. Elliott wrote that Loyalists learned the wounded man was at the Martin home and arrived intending to kill him. Elizabeth managed to hide him and defeat their search. No source identifies the hiding place or her words. What remains is remarkable. A widowed woman concealed an incapacitated patriot while armed enemies searched a house identified with rebellion. Discovery could have endangered Elizabeth, her patient, and everyone under her roof. Protecting him required compassion, deception, composure, and precise knowledge of her own home. Several daughters-in-law lived with Elizabeth during the war. Grace Waring Martin, William's wife, and Rachel Clay Martin, Barclay's wife, became prominent. Together, the Martin women nursed Continental soldiers and sustained a household visited by men from both sides. British officers sometimes stopped for refreshments or lodging. Hospitality in this setting did not necessarily signify loyalty. It could be an unavoidable custom, a safety measure, and a way to observe visitors without revealing family commitments. Elizabeth had to feed travelers politely while judging what they knew and whether her sons or patients faced danger. The dispatch episode occurred in May 1781 during the Patriot siege of 96. Learning that a British courier and 2 guards would travel a nearby road, Grace and Rachel put on men's clothing, armed themselves, and waited in concealment. They surprised the riders, demanded their papers and weapons, then sent the dispatches toward General Nathaniel Greene. Elizabeth did not perform the roadside capture. When the embarrassed riders returned along the road, they sought shelter at the Martin house and complained that 2 rebel lads had robbed them. Elizabeth received them without exposing Grace and Rachel. That night displays Elizabeth's particular strength. Danger did not disappear when the papers were taken. It entered her doorway. She had to remain composed before armed men who might recognize clothing, voices, weapons, or nervous behavior. Tradition says the women lightly asked how the guards had surrendered despite being armed, while the visitors never realized the supposed young men were inside the household. Surviving evidence does not establish the paper's contents or how Greene used them. The defensible conclusion is that the women risked themselves to obtain military intelligence and concealed their involvement. From May 22nd to June 18th, 1781, Greene's 1,000 patriots besieged 550 Loyalist defenders at 96, the Revolution's longest field siege. Greene withdrew when British reinforcements approached, yet the pressure helped make the interior costly to hold. At the same time, patriots attacked Augusta, Georgia. Elizabeth's eldest son, Captain William M. Martin, served in artillery after earlier service at Savannah and Charleston. Ellett reports that William was killed at Augusta after positioning a cannon on an elevated wooden tower. Of the 7 brothers initially in service, 6 survived the war. Family tradition preserved Elizabeth's response when a hostile British officer brought news of William's violent death. She reportedly answered, "He could not have died in a nobler cause." Printed long after the event, the sentence cannot be treated as a contemporary transcript. Still, it expresses the conviction attributed to her throughout family stories. Another memory places Elizabeth on her piazza during the siege of Charleston, hearing distant cannon while 3 sons were inside the city. Her words of pride did not erase fear. They expressed the discipline required to endure it without abandoning the cause she supported. No wartime diary by Elizabeth survives, and many vivid details entered print through Ellett in 1848, about 67 years after the events. Ellett said Elizabeth's grandson, Washington Wade, supplied family memories through a Charleston physician with additions from other relatives. This makes her narrative valuable early testimony, but not a word-for-word record. Modern institutions, including the National Park Service and American Battlefield Trust, repeat the central traditions while differing in emphasis. Dates and exact quotations deserve caution. The consistent picture of nursing, shelter, concealment, family sacrifice, and patriot commitment deserves historical attention. Elizabeth Martin's importance lies in recognizing what an army required beyond battle. Soldiers needed homes where wounds could be washed, bodies fed, information protected, and recovery made possible. Families needed someone to manage danger while fighting men were absent. Elizabeth performed those functions while widowed, while sons faced combat, and while hostile visitors crossed her threshold. Grace and Rachel's ambush remains the family's most cinematic episode, but it depended on a household culture of resistance that Elizabeth helped create and direct. She made care courageous, hospitality strategic, and motherhood public service. That is why this South Carolina matriarch belongs among the essential women of the American Revolution.